Hey everybody, welcome back to The Life-Size City. I am Michael, and in today's little segment that I want to show you, we're going to Steeltown in Canada, Hamilton, Ontario, south of Toronto. We did an entire episode in this mid-sized city that is struggling to reinvent itself in the post-industrial era. Unlike many of the segments that you've probably seen, and if you've seen the series or here on the channel, we're not going to visit some activists or an NGO or some citizens who are doing what they can to improve urban life. We're going to meet a man who is in charge of it in the city of Hamilton. His reputation precedes him. Jason Thorne is well known across Canada and in the United States for really being the kind of urban planner that you want in charge of urban development in a city. So I get to meet him and hear what his visions are for the further development of the city of Hamilton. And there is transferable inspiration to be had for many cities with the same issues that Hamilton faces. Remember to like and subscribe. Let's do it. Let's go to the hammer.
One big project that the city is working on is the revitalization of its waterfront. Many post-industrial cities have been through the same process. As port infrastructure moves out of the urban core, new opportunities arise to reclaim space. In my own city of Copenhagen, taking back the waterfront has brought new life to the city center and reconnected the citizens with the water. Hamilton seems to be in the process of doing exactly the same thing. Well, Jason, you bring me to all the sexy places in Hamilton.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Why did you choose this spot?
So this is the West Harbour. 40 years ago, Hamilton's entire waterfront was really industrial. But over the last 30 years or so, the whole west end of the harbour going in this direction has been reclaimed into parks and public space and trails, and we have marinas. This was really sort of an intentional plan by the city to make this very much a people place.
As head of the city's Department of Planning and Economic Development, Jason is working hard to make Hamilton better. Born and raised here, he is a proud Hamiltonian who wants his city to progress in an inclusive and sustainable way.
Where we are right now, which is what we call Pier 8, is this is the next really big piece in the puzzle that we're very excited about. This is going to be a new Water's Edge Park, about 30 meters deep, seating areas, play areas, amphitheater areas for music and events. We're going to have 1,500 residential units. We're going to have some new commercial and retail built into it and really create a great new neighborhood on the waterfront. This was actually city land, and we took it to market with a whole bunch of conditions. Provision of affordable housing was one of them.
A lot of cities that try to densify very, very quickly. Looking over your shoulder at Toronto, I mean, just the condos that just are, sprouting up everywhere. It doesn't look like a lot of thought was put into the aesthetics of them.
We heard from the community from day one, no wall of condos. So we challenged the bidders coming in and the architects who were competing to build this site to really show us something quite dazzling. And they really pushed the envelope on architecture, and this is going to be something that's going to be quite different than what I think Hamilton has seen in the past.
Besides creating something beautiful and bold on the waterfront, the city of Hamilton is also transforming its downtown core with care. This time around, heritage architecture and other traces of the past won't be erased for a series of steel and glass towers. Jason and his team are working closely with developers, pushing them to integrate Hamilton's legacy into future construction and limiting the height of condo towers. The steel mills and all the land, how much of that land is no longer used because the steel production is scaled down?
This is still one of our major employment areas.
Okay.
There's still about 30,000 people who work throughout this industrial area. That's a big employer for us. Maybe it's the Hamiltonian in me. I still love the industrial skyline. I still find it quite beautiful. We're still an industrial city. We're bringing in more arts and culture, become a music city, a cultural city, a university city. That health sciences and life sciences are one of our biggest growth industries. where we're going to be very different than many cities is I want to be the city that really brings together industrial and post-industrial into one place.
Are you just like super positive because you love this town, or do you really feel that this town is going to take some, take a leap?
We've been talking for a long time in Hamilton about being on the cusp, being almost there, being at the tipping point. To me, we're actually past that now. These backhoes are actually making a park. We're not just talking about it anymore. Something like this waterfront, this is a generational investment that year after year, successive councils have had to make big investments to make something like this happen. And to the credit of our politicians, they've done it.
This might be an advantage of a medium-sized city, more of a connection with the community.
I love working in a medium-sized city because in some ways we can be a little more nimble, we can be a little more experimental. It's small enough that everyone can have a role, everyone can make a difference, everyone can find their place and be a part of the change that's happening. But we're not so small that the stuff that we're doing and the change that we're making, I think, can really matter on a national stage. In some ways, we're maybe more of a life-size city than some of those big global cities. There's been a lot of excitement with having you here and having this show here because we're very proud of the change that's happening. But frankly, to be talked about in a show like Life-Size City in the same breath of the, not just the Torontos and Montreals, but the Taipeis and the Barcelonas and the Tokyos, that's quite an honor for people in Hamilton. We don't often stop and tell our story very often, and certainly not to an international audience.
Yeah.
So this has been quite a discovery for ourselves as well.
Thanks very much, man.
Thank you. It's been great to have you here.
Cool.